Hello, hello, hello. My computer's saying something weird. How often does that happen? So thank you for clicking on. I'm Delia Yeager, and on this episode of Tools for Living the Magic of You, we're going to talk a little bit about mental health. There's just been so much that's going on, and there's a lot of hard things that are happening. Um, there's the pandemic, and there's the latest outbreak, and there's this post Christmas blues. There's the letdown now that the holidays are over. There's just a lot of kind of down kind of energy that's going on right now. And people tend to be pretty um, either reactive or numb about it. There's fight, flight, or freeze, and the one that is employed the most these in a lot of situations in society is the freeze part, and the freeze can feel like, "So, how are you feeling?" "Fine." Kind of like a flat line, nothing too exciting in any direction, and that's probably frozen. Uh, Check in with yourself. I'm not saying that this is true about you. I'm just saying that there's a lot of it that's going on right now. And this whole kind of suppressed energy or depressed energy. And there's kind of a unspoken thing, sometimes it's unspoken, that uh, depression or mental health is not a spiritual concern. And it absolutely is. You can have, okay, everything is energy. Energy never dies, it just changes form. And all things are made of atoms and molecules. So you can have uh, energy without atoms and molecules. Energy is there anyway. It's beyond time and space. It's beyond comprehension. It's the it's the no thing, right? Atoms and cells are things. It's the no thing that all the atoms and molecules swim in or are suspended in or supported by. Um, it's often called no thing or nothing or emptiness, and it's actually consciousness. Or I like Star Wars version of it. It's the force. And there's even a scientific thing if you look up the force or force. It's a scientific thing. There's like gravity and this, that, the other. And force is one of the things that science acknowledges exist. And it's when I've looked at it, it's like this nothing there for the eye to see. It's invisible, and yet it's totally um, you can sense it because you take away all the stuff, all the cells and the molecules. There's still something. And this is that no thing, the force. So you cannot have cells and atoms without force, without this force, this energetic consciousness. Calling it force is confusing because in the competitive, linear kind of conventional wisdom reality, or as I like to call it, the Time Warner version of the world, force is like opposition and it has fighting. It's all competition stuff. It's not that kind of force. It's more like when you're in the ocean and it buoys you up, the salt water buoys you up. It's more like that. So you can have cells and atoms. You cannot have cells and atoms without this energy, but you can have energy without cells and atoms. It's called space. It's called emptiness. It's called nothing. And there's something to it. In physics, they call it dark matter. So it's a real thing. You can Google it. But the point is that mental health, how you're navigating the physical world, is definitely uh, what spirit is about, what spirit is here for. Spirit is not a religious thing. It's not even a refined religious thing. The way I came up to energy was through childhood, through religion. And I thought that spirituality was like one step removed and therefore better than religion. But it has, turns out, that in the spiritual community or spiritual new age community, all these kinds of non religious aspects of it can still be just as hierarchical and oppressive as religions. And this is not that, this is like energy. And there's the seen part and the unseen part. So there's like the body or physical stuff or material stuff. And then there's energy, or as I like to call it, spirit. Because spirit is the not, it's the spark that animates cells and atoms and energy. So mental health has been challenged considerably many times in many ways, but especially in the past 5 years. I just saw something on MSNBC about just really high statistics of people that they did surveys, and just a lot of people are saying that their mental health is affected by politics. And there are a lot of attacks going on in politics. Um, People of color are being attacked, women are being attacked, and in lots of different ways, not just in one way. And the kind of one of the methods that's being used is to, as all good abusers do, to say, "That's I'm not abusing you, I'm not attacking you, I'm not restricting people from voting, I'm not trying to control women's bodies." Um, and that's absolutely what's happening. And it gets, and it's crazy making, this kind of gaslighting conversation is crazy making, because you know what you know, you can perceive what you perceive, and then some other um, person with some kind of authority is saying, no, I have the right of way of my reality, and I choose to override your reality because there's only one reality. And that tension goes, wait a minute, I have a reality. I have my own picture. I have my own reality. That's that's where it gets to be crazy making. However, here's a kind of a funny example. So I have blonde hair, and it's been mostly kind of straight all my life. And I'll use me as an example because I don't know what your hair color is. So if someone, pretend you're me, and if someone were to come up to me and say, I don't like your short, curly black hair, I would just be kind of amused since I don't have any of those things, right? And so their criticism would just kind of like, stream on past me. It would have nothing in me to hook onto, right? Whereas if someone were to come up and say, um, "I don't like your blonde hair. It's to fill in the blank. It's not realistic. It's not real. It's not pretty. It's not yours," or whatever, right? Because I do possess the blonde hair, there are potentially hooks for what the criticism could be for me to take exception to. I could take what they're saying personal because I do have blonde hair, and then I could say, but it's not this or it's not that. I could defend, or I could, there could be something in me that gets hooked. So if you have something that is true. You're being um, marginalized, you're being ignored, you're being interpreted wrong, you're being defined in a way that you don't like. This happens all the time, right? and um, you respond to it, you're hooked, right? No, I'm not this. Yes, I am that, right? You're arguing over somebody else's reality over you. It is crazy making. It is very frustrating, damaging. It's very painful. Tends to, uh, it's hurtful, right? And if you don't have something in you that agrees with them to some degree, then it's not going to hurt as much. So this is not a black and white statement. If you are a black person in America, especially in the South, you don't have to agree with the racist for it to hurt, right? It's a real and your fears, and this is true for women too. Your fears of what could happen to you are based probably on things that have already happened to you or that have happened to people around you. And the tricky part, how we kind of make ourselves vulnerable, is when we lean out of ourselves and require somebody else, especially an authority, to validate what happened to us, to validate our point of view. Because 9 times out of 10 is that not only is that not going to happen, the yearning for it, which is a normal, healthy human response, the yearning for it is going to get twisted and used against you most often. That's just been my experience. And a lot of other people's. I've heard this from many, many, many people in lots of different situations. Um, so, trying to make sense out of the insanity of modern times is costly, and it's not going to happen. Uh, this is where I personally have the advantage of having 18 years and spent 18 years in Al-Anon, which is a program for how to be in relationship with alcoholics, active or recovering. And what Al-Anon is really great for a lot of things. And pretty much everybody knows somebody who's an alcoholic or a drug addict, so everybody qualifies for it, so you can get the benefits of the program. But it's a practice. It's not a quick fix. And the point is that most of us have, if we grew up in this society, we have trouble noticing or distinguishing where we end and somebody else's begins because this society is so other oriented. It's so how we're consumed oriented. I mean, that's the whole phenomenon with social media is packaging one's brand to make a self a brand is kind of bizarre right there, and then to be consumed by others. So it's a crazy society to begin with. And Al-Anon does teach you a lot about how to not take what the crazies are saying to be true, because when we're trying to wrestle with whose reality is real, that's where we get into trouble. Um, you can have your own reality, and it may or may not be shared by others. And it can be expansive, and it can be tricky. So the more you have you, the better off you are, though. All right. So your mental health absolutely matters, and it is a crucial importance that you address it in all the ways that are possible. Everything from seeking professional assistance, professional help, to what can you do today? Because there's a ton of things that any of us can do, each of us can do every day to nurture our own mental health in an insane world. And one of the most potent things is to let go of the idea that you should be these days, with the 24-hour media circus business, news, they call it, um, the assumption is that you'd have to watch all of it or a lot of it, or you'd have to spend lots of time every day just to be informed. So back in the 60s, when we would watch the news to be informed, there were only three stations around the country. Um, and the local news was on at 5:30, and the national news was on at 6. So the most news that you could get is an hour and a half around the dinner hour, and then maybe an hour at 10 p.m. And I don't even think they had morning news shows at that point. But my point is that in the 60s, when we did make a lot of changes, uh, that Republicans and racists have been trying to overturn ever since. Um, Being informed was a part of that. It was a big part of that. But watching the news or reading the news or consuming the news right now does not it doesn't get you the same thing that a limited amount of news did back then, because news was not infotainment as it is now. It has been for many, 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 many years. So it's apples and patio furniture. It's not the same as it used to be, and we need to be more creative about how we glean what is going on, and also just to kind of reconsider uh, how much do you need to know. And what I mean by that is, um, given my background, I worked in my first political campaign when I was 6, stuffing envelopes, working for civil rights here in the South. So um, to be informed was a big value in my family, but to be, like on the news now, it's basically a lot. It just veers into um, shop talk and speculation about speculation. And unless you are a professional uh, politician, you don't need the shop talk. And if you're a professional politician, there are better ways for you to get shop talk and a better caliber of shop talk to find. And you don't need to know the procedures. I mean, can you imagine a TV show about how plumbers plumb or how lawyers do their job? I mean, there's lots of TV shows that do that, but they tend to be relationship oriented, and the backdrop is the law office. I mean, hopefully nobody thinks that they're actually teaching law through those things. But the point is that you don't need the ideas. You want to bring your ideas of what being informed is into present time. Here in 2022, there are better ways to be informed than the ways that we're used to. So, what would that look like? What would it look like if you took the social media apps off of your phone? What would it look like? How would your body feel? What would your biochemistry become if you weren't doing social media all the time? And I don't know what it is that you're doing all the time, but what if you broke it up? What if you changed how you do it? What if you changed the frequency or the number of hours that you do it in? So, whatever your situation is, to take action steps to increase your mental health, to nurture your sanity, your sense of reality, because that's the other thing. Ever since 9/11, this whole idea of sitting in front of the television and consuming traumatic pictures and information over and over and over again for hours at a time, this is not becoming more informed, it's being programmed. They knew that then, they know that now. I don't know who they are, but but just ask your body, is that true? And yeah, it's true. So, um, back to tools that you can use. If you, as a kind of a side note here, if you wanted to reduce all of healing and consciousness raising and changing the world within you and socially, it would all boil down to one thing, and the one thing would be do it different. Whatever it is, do it different. Whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting more healthy, whether it's changing how your relationship operates, how your bank account, how your bank account is, how your work life is, how your job life is. Anything you can think of is going to benefit. It's going to get more robust and more luscious as you employ doing it different. What can I do different in this situation that I've never thought of before that would actually enhance my experience or would enhance my income or enhance my relationships? If you just do it different, you're gonna things will become more luscious, will improve. Okay, so here's some tools. So the first tool is, how do you get some yes and no information? We make something like 50,000 choices a day. I'm not saying that's exactly true. I'm just saying it's a lot. We make a lot of choices a day. And how we have been trained to make choices is based on logic and information. And by information and logic, I mean judgment. So everything about how we make decisions, supposedly, which is not really how we make them, but it's supposedly based on logic and information. So right, wrong, good, bad. And really, as anybody who's ever looked into, for instance, money matters, we totally do everything kind of like by feel, by the seat of our pants, by emotion. But let's just go with, how do you make decisions? How do you make choices during the course of your day? This is a tool that will help you make them from something truer for you than the thinking. So go ahead and close your eyes. And it just helps to kind of lessen the distractions, and just take a few nice deep breaths and come into your body more and more and more. Whatever that means, just allow more of you to come into your body. Breathe and receive more you. And now ask your body for a sensation for each of these sentences. So repeat them to yourself. The first one is, my body likes to drink water. My body likes to drink water. And notice how your body feels with that one. All right, relax your focus. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. And the next one is, my body likes to drink paint thinner. My body likes to drink paint thinner. And in case you're not sure what paint thinner is, it's poison. Okay, so hopefully they felt different. Water tends to feel light, bright, and expansive. Paint thinner tends to feel dark, heavy, constricting. And this is the way that your higher self, infinite you, can use the vibration of energy and the sensations in your body to give you your yes, water, bright, light, expansive, or your no, paint thinner, dark, heavy, compressing, constricting. So you can use water and paint thinner, light and heavy, to make your choices and your decisions. You eat 3 times a day, or you eat however many times a day you eat, and you can start to practice this like with what you consume. You can ask. So whenever you ask, you put truth before the question, and you're asking for the sensation. So, truth, body, should I have this cup of coffee? And then you wait for the sense of water, expansion, or paint thinner. No, constriction, right? And you can do that with, should I have cream in my coffee? Should I have sugar in my coffee? You're asking not about should so much, but you're asking for energetically what's actually going to serve you. And it has the added bonus of bringing you to mind more often during the course of your day. I mean, that's one of the things that happens is that we forget. We disassociate from the body and just run through the day trying not to feel anything because oftentimes because it's too overwhelming. But if you start to ask water or paint thinner, so truth, is this the right cauliflower for me? And then you if you get a no, then you pick up another cauliflower or you pick up another vegetable and you start to be in the conversation with your energy and you start to listen and hear your body in a totally new way because your body is constantly giving you information about the physical world and the realities around you that you actually need to navigate life. Um, there is the aspect of all of this that is, as an energetic being, as a clairsentient, as a psychic, you're picking up on a lot of other people's stuff, and you're sensitive to energy. Now, in a extroverted society like we have, being sensitive to energy can seem like a disadvantage. But think of it this way, most of what's happening in our culture, especially since 9/11, is desensitizing, numbing up, numbing down. Um, Everything from Netflix to caffeine to the usual suspects, drugs and alcohol. It's all about getting less in your body, to get out of your body more, and to be less conscious. Because if we're really consciously aware, we'd be livid. And if we're livid, then we're going to make changes, the Occupy movement. And there's tons and tons and tons of ways that people are finding to make change because the world really does need us to make change. Um, but do what you're called to do, not because you should or you have to. So you may be in a period right now where you actually just need some rest. And to get that rest, a really great tool is to start asking. You're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling panicky, you're feeling whatever it is that you're feeling. What if you ask? Um, so who does this belong to? Truth, is this mine? And then you wait for that sensation of yes or no. And really, the 90% of what you're experiencing in your body probably does not belong to you. Like 99% doesn't belong to you. But because of the way that we've been told how we operate, we believe it's us. And so there's this conventional wisdom, alert, alert, danger, danger, that says that if you feel it or think it, or it's an emotion that you're aware of, it must be yours. And you're much more aware and sensitive than that. So you're probably picking up on a lot of other people's energy. And the great news is that you can start using that awareness. You can start saying, truth, does this belong to me? And without waiting for an answer, just start saying, return to from whence you came. I'm sorry. Return to sender with consciousness. 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 You just keep repeating that over and over again until you feel a shift in your body. And then you do it a few more times because your body cannot process somebody else's energy. Just like you can't digest somebody else's lunch, you can't process somebody else's energy. But being sensitive, we tend to like have these particular bandwidths that we oscillate in. And so we start to pick up everybody else that has that particular bandwidth going on. And then we think it's ours. And then we feel overwhelmed because we can't possibly solve this many problems. We can't possibly move this much energy. And so whenever you feel overwhelmed, try return to center with consciousness, return to center with consciousness, return to center with consciousness, return to center with consciousness. And just keep repeating that until you feel a shift in your body, till you can breathe a little easier. And what you're doing when you're returning to center with consciousness is you're doing your job, which is to get it out of your system. And you're not like sending icky energy back to somebody, like you had this icky conversation with Fred yesterday. And so you're going to send that icky energy back to Fred. That's not what we're doing with return to center with consciousness. You're acknowledging that it's not yours. You're sending it back to whoever you got it from, but you're also sending it back to whoever they got it from, and whoever they got it from, and whoever they got it from. So it's like an opportunity, an invitation back and back and back and back and back to drop the energy that doesn't belong. So you picked it up from Fred, let's say, but Fred picked it up from somebody else, and that somebody else picked it up from somebody else. So it's just going back and back and back. It's like clearing the air for you first, because you got to put the oxygen mask on you first, and then for others and others and others and others. And bonus, it's none of your business whether any of them choose to take this up, to get the healing. Healing is just another word for change. So return to center with consciousness, return to center with consciousness, return to center with consciousness. Start playing with that and say that over and over and over again. And you may notice that your head starts to clear. You may notice that your shoulders come out of your ears a little bit. You may notice that you're breathing better. You may burp. All of these are yawn. All of these are your body moving energy that does not belong to you. And that helps tremendously. Okay, so the last tool for this particular topic is what's called the crazy phrase. And it's dynamite. It's just really fantastic. So it is the way it is, partly because it's true, and partly because or maybe this is just a bonus feature. It breaks your brain. It just does, and that's a good thing. So the way the crazy phrase goes is everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And breathe. So just repeat. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Like that's all one sentence, right? And repeat that over and over again until you feel a shift in your body, how your body feels. And then do it a few more times after that so that you get even more release and relief. So be aware of the crazies that are going on. Stop trying to pretend that it's not that crazy or that it shouldn't bother you, or all the ways that we try to rearrange the furniture to make us more comfortable with insanity. And be kind to you, right? Be kind. You're doing your best. You're doing your best, and you have a lot of misinformation. And being kind to you is going to really help quite a bit, and to be on your side. Yes, this is crazy making, and it sucks. Validate that, and use water and paint thinner. Start to use water and paint thinner. Truth, blah, 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 blah. And wait for the sensation of light or heavy. That's the way that your knowingness, your higher self, your infinite self, can use the sensations of your body to give you directional information, yes and no, which is really, really so useful. And the more you're making choices out of that yes and no, that flow or no flow, the more you're going to be kind of changing the tiller and moving the ship of your life more and more towards what actually does nurture and help you thrive. And then return to sender with consciousness, return to sender with consciousness, return to sender with consciousness. Just start practicing that all the time and just see what happens. And the crazy phrase, everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And just repeat that at least 10 times and to start to move the energy. All right. So your mental health absolutely does matter, and how you act upon it, what you do to support yourself, is very, very potent, especially when you don't feel like it. When you do things for you on your behalf, when you don't feel like it, um, or when you feel like it won't make any difference and you do it anyway, you will notice a difference. Because when you're on your side, it changes everything, truly. All right. Thank you so much for attending today. And I would love to read your comments and let me know how it's going for you. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.